Welcome, dear viewers, to a new episode of Dialogue Horizon. This episode will cover the recent decisions and taken by the High Economic Committee, High Emergency Economic Committee concerning the gold export by forming a fund, investment fund, so that this fund will be primarily controlled by the Central Bank of Sudan. So we will discuss this issue and its effect on the general economy and its effect on the exchange rate of the pound, whether it is something positive, good, whether it is enough or it needs some more work. So we are hosting in this episode two economists, two gentlemen. Dr. Yasser Al-Abeid is known to us and to this program. He will cover with us this issue. And also we have a young economist and expert, Ustaz Abdurrahim Jamal Sabra. He's in the field of economy and production and as a consultant, and he was also a general manager for a big industry in different parts, and he had good information and knowledge from United States of America. Welcome, dear gentlemen, to this episode. First, Dr. Yasser, we want to know, and the viewers also want to know, I myself, I am a little bit confused about the recent actions taken by the High Emergency Economic Committee in this week, actually last week, few days ago, about the gold, export of gold. Many people they talked about this gold problem and the smuggling and the bad and corrupt channeling of the proceeds of gold export. First of all, can you tell us about, in general, what are the main features of the recent decisions of the High Committee, Economic Committee?
Thank you very much, Mr. Haras, and happy to be with the youngest economist, and I think he's going to be one of the friends of the Dialogue Horizon. I think so. That resolution and the decision from the High Committee, Emergency Economic Committee, which is issued last 2 days, some part of the resolution regarding the smuggling of the gold, and talking about different things about regarding the impact to the dollars and the increasement of the dollar. And part of that is this is the first time, for a very long time, as we know, is issuing that investment portfolio. And that one is really one of the tools, one of the modern tools for the economists. When you have a problem in the economy, you have to issue that part of the portfolio, or you issue investment fund. So that is a part of when you have a problem, you have a crisis in the economy, you have somewhere problem, you have any complication in the economic, like he wants to bump some money somewhere. He wants to solve the problem, like the commodity problem and the scarcity of the problem of the commodities, like the wheat and the fuel and whatever. So that can solve part of the problem. And this type of tools, I think so, it can be established without even government. Even the banks can do that. Even most of the bank through the central bank. Or you can do it with the banks, part of the banks, or the whole of the banks can do that for exporting the commodities, or importing commodities, or solving the problem internally. So you have to form this type of fund.
So actually, what will be the channel of the fund? I still, the fund now, we are talking about creating for the first time a fund in the Central Bank of Sudan. All gold business and quantities, daily or monthly. Does this mean that this will be channeled to the central bank, and then central bank has the control on its proceeds, or what it is the features exactly?
First of all, for establishing this or forming this type of fund or type of portfolio investment, that is, you have to create money internally as a fund. So you have to look for financing for this fund from the government and from the banks, from the private sector, from individuals, from businessmen, from that. So that one is going to be just like a capital for just trying to import or import especially some of the commodities from outside, like wheat, like fuel, like whatever. And that should be supported by another policies on that. The gold is being connected with that. The gold is something different a little bit. It's not part. The gold is for export. For export that you have to get all to feel the problems of the smuggling. So the smuggling, so from almost more than 5-6 years, the policies for the gold or export of the gold, it is having so much problems. So the policies is not connected with the financial policies. It's not connected with the monetary policies. It's just sometimes it's being issued without connected with that, because it's very closer to each other. Without that comprehensive policies, you can't solve the problem.
Okay. Does this mean, if I understood you well, does this mean that all miners are obliged by these decisions of the committee to bring their products of gold, the gold cubes, they are obliged to bring it first to the Bank of Sudan?
No.
Not
No, it's
like
not. That's not because, because the Central Bank of Sudan, Bank of Sudan is outside of the operation now this time. It's outside Central Bank. Now it's been given to the all traders and the all business and the companies. So they have to buy and export the gold openly with transparent transactions.
So what is
The
new?
Central Bank only issuing the
what is new in this policy?
The new in this policy, now the private sector and the companies, now all the companies in Sudan, they are free to buy and export. So the export now for all the companies in Sudan. Only the government and the central bank issuing only the official papers and official procedures, then taking export the gold. Even if he wants to export 1 gram or he wants to export 1 ton, you have to export it free of that, because that one, so that the income of the bond of the export should come back to this fund. So that can be used for exporting, so importing the commodities. That is the issue here. So that the income of the exports should come to the fund. Yes.
Okay, Ustad Abdul Rahim Jamal Sabra. Okay, having heard Dr. Yasir said about this fund, so it seems that it's not something very new, because still miners are free to bring their products, whatever they collect daily or monthly, to a certain place where but still the problem of the proceeds, the export. Do you think that the fund will be qualified enough to control, to do what Dr. Yasir said about availing this to import of commodities? So what is your opinion about this new fund? In my mind, I think it's not very new, but kind of control, and it will maybe it will control the smugglers or the smuggling. But will the fund be capable and qualified enough to make a breakthrough?
Okay. First of all, thank you for having me, Mr. Abu Haras. It's a pleasure to be with you and Dr. Yasir. I think Dr. Yasir brought up very important points. One of which is that I think they're still missing a holistic approach to an economic policy So we see here that there is no reform in terms of export of gold. But this is interrelated to a lot of other parts which might not be at the moment looked at. And eventually these are loopholes or other areas which need to be also included in the reform or other counterparts and such in order to have a holistic economic policy. If I understood Dr. Yasser correctly, previously there was a monopolization in terms of export of gold, and now they're moving towards sort of a free market in which all producers are able to export. My question would be, are the proceeds which are returning back from these actual exports, are they available to the person who exported them for free of use or withdrawal or something of such? And if so, what will be the exchange rate? Because if the official rate is still persistent to be different from the real exchange rate, then there must be an outside transaction outside of the banking sector or the banking channel, which compensates the difference between the actual exchange rate and the real exchange rate in the black market. I think this is something that also might not be completely looked at the moment, or it will not be solved immediately as long as there is a deficit in the fiscal year, which comes to about, let's say, 5 billion. So our exports might be still having a deficit, and this deficit has to be somehow eventually closed or the gap filled in order to be able to have all the requirements of imports or essential commodities that are required for the country. So I think in my understanding there's still going to be a gap in terms of exports against imports as long as there's still a fiscal gap for the year.
So Dr. Yasser, from what Abdul Rahim said, as long as there is a gap, a long protracted gap for quite more than 10 years, there is a gap between export and import, which is about 5 billion. Almost exports are about 4.5 billion annually, and imports are 9.5. So there is a gap. As long as there is a gap, this will not affect the dollar rate or the currency, national currency exchange rate. So this, do you think that still this fund, this new fund created by the committee, it will have something positive, even not completely eliminating the gap, but will it bridge part of the gap?
It can be part of the gap, but cannot solve the problem, all the problem. I don't think. You know, it is a new fund which is being issued only just for the commodities. So the problem of the economic is bigger than that. We're talking about something different. The whole the tools of the economic and the structures of the economic has so much problems differently from the production, from productivity, from the import, from the export, and from this deficit. It came almost 11 years since the Sudan decisions of Southern Sudan, and all the oil is gone there between almost 75 or 80 to the Southern Sudan. Sudan is remain only with 15 or 20% only. That is the deficit came after that. So the increase until came to the 5, or maybe it's more than that. That one you have to look for another solution also. You know, the economy you cannot just fix one policy and leave the rest. So you need comprehensive policies to go all together, at least to solve the problem with other. You know, you have the policies for the economic policies, the total economic policies, and you have the financial policies, and you have the monetary policies, you have the trading policies, you have the international, you know, all these differences has to come together. This fund, I think so, it's going to solve part of the problem, maybe for a few months, for the coming months, maybe how to attract the rest of the money, which is abroad, which is the immigrant, the money outside Sudan, which is almost about 20 something billion US dollar. So we have to look for that all together to go together, and we have the main problem and the main challenge going to face the fund, I think so, the confidence. How can we establish the confidence in this fund? How can we establish the confidence in this one? How can we form the confidence? How can we build the confidence in this fund? You know, otherwise nobody can come to this fund completely, especially the banks, internal banks, especially the private sector, especially the outside money which is gone outside for a very long time. Internally investors, I don't think they're going to come on that. So we have to at least to build the confidence in this fund, and to build the confidence in the banks, to build the confidence in central bank, which is the main problem of all this process. Without building the confidence in, because as you know that we are producing almost more than 150 tons annually, which is about 7.5 billion US dollar. So that's almost of it, 90% is going to smuggling. So how can we stop that one? How can we attract this almost 7 billion US dollar, or this 150 tons of gold? How can it come back to the treasury? That is a need. It needs a proper policy, and it needs a program, emergency program. How can we form a program with this fund, and we can form another fund? We can form more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 funds. So even the banks can form a fund separately than private sector, than investors, than producers even. So that is something openly, you know, can form many of these funds and portfolios, can help and can build the problem of the economy at this time.
Okay, Abdulrahim, you mentioned in your address, in your talk, you said something about loopholes through which smugglers and corrupts they come through it. So it seems to me, I'm not an economist, but it seems to me that fighting or confronting the dollar itself is just like fighting symptoms of a disease. It is a symptom. The increase of the dollar is a symptom. We mentioned that it's a symptom, not the disease. So, for example, like if somebody gets malaria, he catch malaria. The symptom is headache. If you take Panadol, it won't solve your problem unless you take the chloroquine or the real remedy. So you mentioned that there are loopholes. From your experience here in Sudan for quite a long time in business and in the companies, in manufacturing companies, can you tell us about these loopholes, about the fund and what might happen? And you said also something about two exchange rates. One official will be paid and the other will be paid around the table. Okay, can you elaborate on this?
I think the smuggling or the out of the legal process or official process for doing business is always done because the outcome or the value for it is larger than the official value. So I think the policy has to consider that the official transaction will be as essential or as valuable as any other transaction which would be out of the official channels. This, of course, I think would bring in a lot of funds through the official channels, and then we have to seek to fill the gap between the official exchange rate and the black market exchange rate. I think supporting this by closing smuggling or things like this is a support factor to a policy that needs to be in place which solves the essential problem. Obviously, there are two rates because we have a lot of inflation or such. So we are still going to have this inflation. Even if it's momentarily decreased, it will increase again as long as supply and demand are continuing for the dollar or the hard currencies in order to be able to do business or bring in raw materials or import and such like this. At the same time, I think the policies which also affect industries such as manufacturing or agriculture and things like this, they need to be also reviewed and integrated to all the channels which are available in Sudan. And I think on a bigger perspective, we need to be reintegrated into the global economy because as Dr. Yasser said, we're still facing a problem having just normal transactions of transferring money or abroad, or having to use multiple channels in order to make a single transaction which should go directly. So are the policy considering this in the long term? And at the same time, are we ready to be reintegrated in terms of financial institutions and other bodies which have to interact with the global economy? Or are we need to also implement policies and procedures such as anti-money laundering, and financial institutions should be up to the par of doing business abroad? So I think to answer your question, I think there are loopholes available in most of the industries today, because the investor or the business owner is looking to maximize his profit, and if he's enduring additional costs because there is a problem or a loophole in the policy, then this cost essentially will be translated to the end consumer in terms of higher products or higher price for products, or unavailability of these products at all, because financially or economically they are not feasible to be produced in Sudan due to different regulations such as high tariffs or unavailability of production capacity or electricity or manufacturing capability.
High cost, the manufacturing cost is very high, and the competitors, it's hardly, hardly product can hardly compete. But Abdurrahim said something about reintegrate the economy of Sudan with the globe, international economy. I think he's referring to the maybe the sanctions which are depriving Sudan from fully take full advantage of the global economic system, especially the banking system. So can you tell us about how okay, to reintegrate it has, this is something political. We have to be in good terms with America until they lift their sanctions completely. They lift the sanctions and they take our name, Sudan name, from the list of states sponsoring terrorism. This will take time. But what will be the effect of free? Let us assume that all this happened. What is the effect of that? As Abdurrahim said, we have failed to reintegrate the economy of Sudan as it used to be. It used to be reintegrated, fully reintegrated, and banks, international banking system was very good. Some 20 or 30 years ago, maybe the system, Sudan was fully integrated with the global banking system. And we used to have foreign banks, and still now we have foreign banks. So can we elaborate on this issue of reintegrating Sudan in the international economy?
To reintegrate Sudan in the international economy, I think so it has two sides. One is internally and the other is externally. The internally, as you mentioned, that is a political side of the sanctions and embargo of Sudan, economic embargo, and putting Sudan in that list of the tourists. That is a part of that. I think so there is a lot of efforts on that, because Sudan is implement everything regarding that, about that conditions and terms and conditions, and implement all the about even with the international financial institution is implement all the condition terms and conditions. Still, that is became. We are waiting only for political decision, international political decision, to at least to solve this problem with Sudan. That to reintegrate Sudan, I think so. The main problem of that integration to the globe, economic globe, I think so. The financial system, which is affecting the economic in Sudan so much. We need to look for the solution. How can we to lift this sanction, the financial sanction, especially the banks, the transactions, all the transferring the money, or that is one of the problem. Because if you want to get a fund not from the international financial institution, you can't get that one as far as you are in that list. Because how to do the transaction from outside? How can you get the money? That is a problem. Internally, we have to use our internal resources. We have to form a proper program for the economy, because the affection of the economy in Sudan, it has really became I don't think you can say that's something easy, but it's not that difficult also to solve the problem. Because now if you look for as we spoken about this investment portfolio, it is going to solve just maybe small percentage from the whole problem of the economy in Sudan. But we need to look for this one. It's not by microscope. We have to look it by telescope. The problem because we are looking now at commodities, the scarcity, the problem of the fuel, that is not the problem of the economy of Sudan. It's true that is one of the part of the problem of the needs of the citizen, the need of the people, the need of the population of Sudan, but it's not that's not the issue. Let us just work, and we have to look for the whole the problem of the economy in Sudan, all of it. That one, let us go with the Minister of Foreign Affairs to at least to look for a solution for how to lift Sudan from that destruction. But internally, the challenge all is internally. Even without one, we are still we're having a lot of debt in our almost more than 60 billions. That is another part also. We have a problem of production. That is the main problem. Even that agriculture now is not working with that. It's still that traditional way it's working. No any revolution in agriculture, for example. We don't have that a proper mind that to look for a solution, to look for a problem for the irrigation, to look for a problem how to increase the productivity, how can we increase the researches and the studies on that side of agriculture and animal resources. That is a part. Even let us the ministries should work properly, should work by fast, and to have to look for the problem internally. Internally, we have a big problem. Even if now today we are going to the Sudan friends or Sudan friends in a meeting at the end of this month. You know, us up to now, I don't think the strategic projects are we having that visibility study, proper visibility study, updating visibility study for these projects, at least for infrastructure, project for the power, projects for mining sector, project for real sector, projects. Are we having Minister of Investment? Are they having that a proper studies, feasibility study full, being accredited with international experience house? Are we having that? Because if today they had that, they can give us fund, they can give us this finance. We have to I feel, to organize ourselves internally. Minister of Finance should work very well. Should at least renew the physical policies. Even the monetary policies should be at least trading. We are going to the WTO. That one also it needs proper policies. We need at least to be ready for that. We need the specifications for our products. Is it our product? Is it matching the international standard? We have to look for that. We have to make a revolution. I think Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Finance, Central Bank, at least even the cabinet ministers. Let them to work on that side, because they're going to solve the problem. Otherwise, if we look for waiting for the fund coming, not coming, I think so until the interim period, we're going to look for that. And I don't think at this time, the international, even after Corona disaster, I don't think the international institutions are ready to fund. This disaster of Corona is really discovered the world and discovered the international finance institution. They are not ready even to solve the small problem of health problem. They cannot finance projects.
Okay, that is very, very, very clear. Abdurrahim, from what Dr. Yasir said, is that one, from what you already said, that there are loopholes. So it seems to me that the fund, as a decision to creation of the fund in itself, by itself, without certain procedure and modalities and matrices and certain things to make sure that this will work effectively. Because as you know, one of the loopholes is the different rates for almost, not only gold, almost most of the proceeds. From your experience, you have a very bitter experience from when you were in the industry as a general manager in one of the industrial companies. You had very hard time to look around, see from friends, to see who has export proceeds, then try to convince him. He pays you, and then you pay official rate at the bank around the corner, outside the system. Can you tell us about your experience, personal experience, in this area of proceeds? Because the export proceeds are not enough to bridge the gap between export and import.
Okay. I think proceeds or having funds available to import raw material, especially for production or for the local manufacturing or agriculture, is still a big issue, because when you try to allocate funds through the banking sector or the official channel as a local producer and contributing to the economy, there's severe difficulties. And I think these difficulties will continue because we have a lot of inherited problems many years back, and we still have a deficit in the economy or in the fiscal year. The fact that the entire transaction cannot be completed by the financial institution, there has to be parallel transactions outside of these financial institutions, means that the problem is still continuing, and it will continue. I think we need, like Dr. Yasser said, is to have a complete readiness to complete transactions 100% within the financial institution. As long as we allow the other body to operate, then there will still continue to be a gap. And as a local producer or a manufacturer, you contribute to the economy in many ways, in significant ways, while you find it difficult to compete with imported or smuggled products because of their lack of contribution to the economy in terms of tariff, taxes, and other such amenities. So essentially, I think it becomes more difficult and a tougher decision to make to continue to be a local producer, abiding by the laws and going through all the official channels, if financially you cannot compete with the alternative unauthorized channels, which is, I think, a big burden has been for the last several years for all the local producers to actually try to balance an operation between official and unofficial channels simultaneously. I think on the long-term perspective, this has to be considered in order to make local producers and to incentivize the private sector in order to invest and keep the money in the official channels. Unless the private sector is incentivized, then the logical rationale would be to seek alternatives, which overall is not well for the economy, it's not well for the country, and it's just beneficial to one person as opposed to the broader perspective of adding value to the economy.
So actually, what you are saying, as long as there is a gap, this $5 billion gap between export and imports, it's extremely difficult to control the dollar or the value of the national currency. Can you tell us about as far as I know, the expatriates, all policies to attract the money of the expatriates, Sudanese expatriates, there are millions in the Gulf area. I heard one of the officials of the expatriates chamber here in Sudan, he estimates that about $6 billion annually can be expected to come from the expatriates, and actually the transfer, not illegal, but the transfer outside the official banking system from the expatriates to the families, that is what is supporting these families and what is supporting the economy of the country, because people still, they buy refrigerators, they eat, some of them, not all, those who have expatriates. So why all governments failed to attract the expatriates money? I know two countries, Ethiopia and Egypt, their expatriates are very patriotic, and they almost channel whatever their savings to their countries. But why Sudanese expatriates are not? There's something. There must be something wrong. Not in the expatriates. Something wrong in the system.
Yes, true. That's right.
Why?
Yes, true. The expatriates has it's two problems. I think so why they are not attracting this money. I mentioned 6. In fact, there is another statistics saying that it's gone up to 11 billion, up to 11 billion.
Okay.
That is a new statistic
Expected from the
the
expatriates.
expatriates. Yes, true. And now the money is being exploited outside. There is a lot of speculation on this money, transferring the money to those exploiters outside, and they're trying buying and selling this in black market.
Real estate, they are selling, they are buying these expatriates, they are turning most of their money to Egypt, for example.
To Egypt,
Because
to UAE, to Saudi Arabia, to another Gulf area.
They buy
and the transaction
buildings.
all is being happening outside. It's not even inside.
Why not coming inside?
Even because of the policies in Sudan. You know, the policies from very long time, I think so, since 2005 or whatever. The policies, it's really very poor policies regarding that to attract this type of income. Most of the people, even China, the biggest exporters in the world is China and India. So almost 60 billion US dollars, so almost
Annually.
Yes, annually. And the problem is the policies, and another problem is the confidence. These experts, they don't having that confidence in our institution, internally, in the banks, in central bank. How can I get the money? How can you to transfer the money? The transaction itself, even if I transfer the money in US dollar or dirham or real or any international currencies, so you can't find it and you can't get it in that currency. So that it comes to you at the end of the day is half of the money if you get it through the bank, an official price of the central bank, which is 55.2. That is in the market, black market. We know that is so higher in that. Nobody can do that, I think so, because of his interest. We have to look for a proper policies. We have to look for a confidence. We have to build a confidence between institution and between these banks. We have to change completely these policies, especially the monetary policies, especially central bank policies, should be changed completely. We have to look for a solution. We have to get a solution for that, because this is 11 billion, or says from 6 to 11. It's a lot of, and there is another money also. It's gone outside Sudan, even about 9 billion in Ethiopia, in Egypt, in whatever. That is another money. Is just. It's run away from the internal policies. So that's how can we attract that money? This almost not less than 20, 25, 22 billion US dollar. So we don't have a problem of dollar. I think so. The dollar is there, the money we have, but the problem is not going in our institution, in the banks and whatever. This all is outside. All the transactions is being done outside. And all the speculator even doing that one with a lot of profits. So they attract you with, even if the price now in Sudan is £5, outside they can give you 5.5. So this is good for you. In fact, even you send your money to another international bank and you get your money transferred to your family or to any transaction internally. So we have to look for this as soon as possible, because this is money which is really is been going without any control from our and especially even our revenue for the export. Even that's another problem also. So the government is not getting that revenue for the export. Yes, that is a problem. That's another problem. Outbound is outside. Outbound is going, even another exploiter also doing that one outside and trying just to attract even that one. And
so you mean the government is not getting full value
there is another
of the exports?
They're playing around of this.
Something outside, something inside, official. And this also, this Abdul Rahim, I think in my mind, this is mainly due to the different rates, the official and the black market rate. In this case, will it be a good idea to go daringly on floating the currency? I mean, once you say that no two price, only one price, the current available, would it be a means to attract this money outside?
I think in order to float the currency, there must be a lot of requirements which are met by the country beforehand, such as they must have funds in order to support floating. They must have available funds, because if you don't and you float the currency, what's going to stop it? It's going to skyrocket. At the same time, we've seen that similar countries, such as Egypt, who went through a similar period, they received a lot of investments or support from other countries in terms of investment funds or such, in order to do such an activity as floating the currency. But I think they were ready beforehand in terms of the policies. They were ready in terms of the economic bodies or the investment bodies which would operate this fund, and at the same time they are fully integrated into the global economy. So they were able to do this in a successful manner to a certain extent. So I think it would be difficult for Sudan to go down the same path at the moment without undergoing all the internal reforms that are required in order to conduct such an activity successfully.
People before floating, you have to qualify yourself by having available cushion of dollars, so that it will might absorb the first initial shock. Otherwise, the value of the dollar will skyrocket, will be very high.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem. In fact, this is cannot just throw it like that as a policy and leave it like that. It maybe can affect and give you another can give you a very bad impact. So you have to at least to make measurements for the for what you are doing, especially if you're floating the currencies and whatever, because this is having two sides. It maybe can give you and maybe 90% can give you
Disastrous.
disasters. That's a problem.
Disastrous results.
Without studied these policies well, with an expert outside even the central bank and Minister of Finance, at least we need a conference or workshop to at least to look for these problems. How is it going to be? Is it the proper or not? But I think so now. Even the price of that and the currencies, it's been floated, but it's not been announced. It seems like that. According to me, it's been there, because now we are, as we know that the subsidies now became now free, and the trade price is outside, and that is in the same. From the other hand, is going to go to the same side. And I think so. This is part of IMF terms and conditions. So we have to do that at least to leave all the economic free, to leave the economy without any interfering from the
intervention from the government,
and
leave it free.
to that. Yeah, that
leave it floating.
We have to have your own. Also, you have to have your own policy internally, not to just to leave it all to the IMF, because IMF, it doesn't for this, from their side, they don't have problem if the economy goes to the disaster. So like now, if you look at the model in Lebanon now is in a big disaster. Even now the inflation is reached to the 6,000%. 600%.
Lebanon, yes.
Yes, 6,000 in fact.
Lebanon and
now
Syria.
they are in disaster. In disasters. It seems like just Zimbabwe problem. Similar to that problem. We don't want to go to that one because we have not reached to that up to that stage of Lebanon. Still, we are in a good position to solve the problem. Otherwise, if you are not going to solve the problem, day by day is going to be increased. Day by day is going to be in a problem. Day by day, we are going to be having scarcity on the dollar and international currencies, and the production is still having that problem. And you're having that problem of outbound is out. Still, you are not going to get it the export revenue. And how can you? The economy cannot you operate with that. You cannot operate until the deficit, as Mr. Ibrahim said. The deficit is going to be there and going to increase annually, and the increasement of the debit also is still $2 billion annually, or 1.8 billion every year. So that is another problem. The economy is going to be just like a sick person if I'm not going to solve the problem day by day. I think so the problem is going to be there.
It will be continue.
Yeah, continue.
Okay, Abdul Rahim, everybody knows, we all know that, and the whole world knows that Sudan is very rich. It's a very rich country in very scarce and dear resources like water. We have plenty of water, rainwater or river water. We have land, arable land, which can be cultivated about 275 million faddan, only cultivated about 44 million فدان only out of these 275 plus the minerals plus the livestock. We have livestock and all organic, original. What do you think? What is the reason for the deterioration of the economy, the continued deterioration in the last 20 or 30 years? Although Sudan is very rich, can you just tell us why the economy is not strong? This also will pass to you. Why?
I think, as you mentioned, in order to utilize all the resources available in Sudan, such as agriculture, livestock, or mining or minerals, a lot of work would need to be done beforehand. When the economy was progressing adequately, there should have been more reform or preparation to incentivize those sectors in the long-term perspective. Unfortunately, I think the need or the reforms that we're trying to put in place, or that are currently trying to put in place, came a little too late. There was already a deficit. There was already most of the GDP had gone to the, and 90% of the export had gone to the South Sudan after it seceded. So I think all the reforms, they came a little too late, and currently they will take time in order to incentivize and to allow these sectors to operate efficiently, and to hopefully close the gap or increase the exports of agriculture, livestock, and minerals. In order to do so, we need adequate holistic policies, and we need the private sector to be able to operate and have confidence, like Dr. Yasser said, which takes time.
And you need peace and security, don't forget. Yeah. Without peace and security, because you need the technical help. Okay, continue,
yes.
Go ahead.
You need technical help, and you need to be able to invest your money with confidence, and get an appropriate return on investment. If it's agriculture, then you need the infrastructure, water, electricity, fertilizers, all the necessities to be available, which is currently not the case. Why people shy away from a lot of agriculture, while, as you mentioned, we have abundance of fertile land, unparalleled in the world, but we don't have the necessary resources to operate in these sectors, nor the policies and reforms which give confidence to the investor in the long-term perspective. I think the government is burdened now with trying to rectify a lot of things inherited, and in order to do this rectification, they must have concrete policies and, let's say, some progress which is also built upon, and not something that is what we see policies changing every one day and another, or a lot of retracting on the progress that has been done in the private sector. There must be constant progress in these sectors to allow for more confidence from investors.
Okay, thank you, Abdurrahim. Can you, in 1 minute, or less, can you add?
According to me, I think so the problem of Sudan was not using all these resources. The problem is a model, economic model. Yeah, since the independence, we have missing that models of. We don't have a proper model up to now. Since all these governments is that all the national governments. Plus that there is no vision, I think so, on how to use these resources. The problem with that, missing that vision, is a big disaster and big problem. If you are not going to do a proper vision and a proper program with a proper implementation of this program, we are not going to use these resources. The resources are going to stay underground up to the end. So we are not going to do that one. We are going to be in problem. We're going to wait for the international terms and condition of the international institution, international globe. That is another part. But we have to look for economic models. That's missing since the independence of Sudan.
Okay. Thank you, dear gentlemen, for being with me the few minutes or 50 minutes ago. I think we covered good issues about the control of the salvation of the economy of the country, how to go about it, and because it is going deteriorating it might reach a collapse. Anyhow, thank you very much for being with me in this episode. Thank you, dear viewers, for being with us in this episode. We hope to see you next week, same time, in different issues. Thank you and bye.